just wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone for sending your questions. I was so surprised and delighted by the types of questions that you all asked. I think what I'm going to do is split this into two parts and have one that's more about the channel, where I live, what I do, that kind of stuff, and then a second video about music, movies, concerts, art. Do that one separately so that it's more by topic, because I think that this would be a very, very long video if I tried to answer all the types of questions at once. Let's get into it. The first question is, why did you start making ASMR on YouTube? I have watched YouTube for many, 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 many years, and I've always loved the YouTube ASMR community, and I did have a YouTube channel that was not an ASMR channel. I had that for about a year before I abandoned it and made it private. So I had always been interested in YouTube as a storytelling platform. Pink says hello, hello, hello. I had some experience with filming and editing and uploading, and I wanted to give ASMR a try. And I'm finding this to be a much more sustainable, enjoyable process than the more vlog style channel that I had created. That channel is gone. You can't watch it, and I'm not going to share what it was or anything, but it was definitely a step to get me to where I am today. So that's why I started making ASMR on YouTube. The next question, is YouTube your full-time job, or do you do something else for work? I definitely have a full-time job outside of YouTube. YouTube is just a hobby for me. As I've shared on the channel, all my AdSense revenue that we make on this channel, I donate, so I do need to have a paycheck and health insurance to live my life and pay for things. So this is, like I said, just a hobby, and it's become a little more altruistic now that it's monetized and I can donate the money. Next is, what is the video you're most proud of on your channel? Doesn't have to be your most popular, just the one you're happiest with for whatever reason. I think the video I'm most proud of is the first one I posted. It takes a little bit of bravery to put yourself out there on the internet, and I did it, and it's kicked off this whole process. That moment of being brave enough to try something new, to film it, started sharing my opinion on things, it felt a little bit like my opinion might rub somebody the wrong way and not be a relaxing experience anymore. And what I learned instead by posting that video is that the sharing of my opinion, my personality, is what some people find the most relaxing. It's not going to be for everybody, but for the people that have found it and enjoy it, there's a deeper level of connection there that is more meaningful, and I enjoy making it more because it's really easy to talk about things that you love. I'd like to also mention that video just because it felt very important in terms of helping me be less afraid to share parts of myself. The next question is, does anyone close to you know you do ASMR? If so, what do they say? Or do you tell people in your day-to-day life about it? Before I started the channel, I told my husband, obviously, and my family, and my closest friends. And unfortunately, I don't have anyone else in my sphere who watches ASMR or who, like, gets it. To them, it's a little odd, but obviously they support my creative endeavor, and being able to show them how the channel has grown and that I monetized it and can donate the money, I think they're seeing now the bigger picture of it and what is so cool about it. Not that you need something to be big to prove that it's like successful or worthy, but it's just validating the things that I already knew about the ASMR community. And it's a little easier to explain to people who don't get ASMR. I also, when I hit 1,000 subscribers, shared with my coworkers that I have a YouTube channel. I didn't tell them what it was about, and I said I was not going to be sharing it, but we generally check in with each other every morning at work and ask what you did the night before. And I was spending a lot of time like editing and stuff, and so I wanted to be able to talk about like what I was doing without sharing that it was ASMR. But eventually I started telling them, and again, none of them are really ASMR watchers, but they thought it was cool and interesting. And again, I'm not sharing it with them. Like, I'm not gonna give them a link to the channel or anything. Just this month, I shared a little bit more publicly outside of like my inner circle of coworkers. I shared with some other people that I interact with at work that I have an ASMR channel. The response has been very cool, especially from other people that have artistic tendencies in whatever medium. They feel the creativity in what I'm doing, and being able to share that the donations go to Artist Trust to support other artists in the state, again, has been a very cool thing, and that people are really responsive to. I don't know, I feel like I needed to see a little bit of growth in my channel to have the channel monetized and to go through with the donation, to feel a little more confident in talking about it outside of just it being an ASMR video. Yeah. Does that make sense? I think it does. The next question is, what's your ASMR setup, camera, and mic? As I mentioned, I had started a more vlog style YouTube channel. When I started that channel, I bought a tripod, a Canon camera that I cannot read the exact model of, sorry, but it's a Canon DSLR camera. And then when I decided I wanted to start the YouTube channel, I got a Blue Yeti microphone, so that's my setup. Just benefit of an ASMR channel is that the editing is pretty minimal, or for me it's not very minimal. I cut a lot of background noise out, but it's not super complicated, and you're not trying to put too many layers together and stuff compared to what I was trying to do with the vlog channel with music and transitions and stuff. The barrier is pretty low for the ASMR channel, and I know a lot of people film on their phone and just upload. They don't edit at all, and I watch ASMR like that pretty often actually, so you don't even have to edit it really. I'm just very picky. I grabbed something to tap on just because I thought it would be interesting, because we're transitioning now to questions outside of the ASMR channel. The first question is, what do you enjoy doing in your free time when you're not making videos for your ASMR channel? Outside of work and my YouTube channel, I really enjoy just sitting and doing nothing. The older I get, the more I appreciate a day or half a day, whatever, a week on the weekend, where I can really just turn my brain off and give my body a chance to rest. I love watching movies. I love just sitting listening to music. I love reading. Those are some of my favorite things to do. I also really love to go out to eat with friends, catch a movie in theaters with friends, and we live in the woods, so I love spending time outside, especially when the weather is nice, but even when it's not nice, it's so beautiful. And I have a dog, so I spend a lot of time outside with the dog, walking around. I do really love taking a drive to go walk somewhere new, either by myself or with the dog. This next question ties into my last answer, and the question is, who made the decision to live in the woods, or what made you and your husband want to live in that kind of area? My husband and I were living in Seattle. We lived in Seattle for a long time. And this house that we live in now was owned by family, and it was becoming too much for them to take care of by themselves. And when they shared that they were going to sell the house, my husband and I had no intention of ever leaving Seattle. We both really loved it there. We had really good work opportunities and friends and food and a house, and we had a lot of ties to the community that way. But it felt so deeply wrong and sad to see this place leave the family. And so we started talking about what it might look like if we moved out of Seattle, and it has been an amazingly good decision for us. This is similar to the area where I grew up, so it's very, like, it feels very nostalgic and safe and like home to be here. So I'm very happy that we are living more rurally now. The next question is, does it get lonely living in the middle of a forest? Any scary nature close encounters? It doesn't get particularly lonely to me. I have become more introverted over time, so I really enjoy the quiet and being alone, or being with my husband and my pets. So I don't ever really feel alone after living in Seattle. sensory overload with a lot of like noise and things going on all the time. To be in somewhere very quiet has been such a positive change. But we have had some scary nature close encounters. We have coyotes, deer, moose, wild turkeys. I think I saw a fox once. While the coyotes make a lot of noise, they're pretty shy, so I don't find them to be particularly scary. Same with the deer. But the moose are very scary. They're so big, and they don't like dogs. And they're very protective animals of their space and their babies. And last year we had a family, like a male, female, and a baby moose that hung out for a couple weeks around here. And that made for a lot of nervous walks with the dog. There were a couple times where we didn't notice that they were there. And then he'd look over and there'd just be a giant moose. And there's very particular rules you're supposed to follow to avoid a confrontation with a moose. So they haven't been hanging around here this year yet. Just a lot of deer this year. But it is, a reminder that in natural spaces like this, we are not the apex predator. Even though we feel like it, there's a lot of animals that are bigger and stronger than us, so it's a good reminder. Thank you. The next question is, what are the challenges to cabin life, if any, compared to a normal house or apartment? There's a lot of creaking and popping that you hear in log houses because the wood expands and contracts when there's changes in temperature. So there's like a lot of like popping sounds. Also, maintenance of a log home is really important because your outside walls are your inside walls. When we moved in here, there was a lot of deferred maintenance, including restaining all of the logs outside to like seal and protect them because the sun, the UV rays actually damage the wood and can make it start to deteriorate. So that was a very expensive and much needed bit of maintenance that you wouldn't have to do on a regular house. I guess you should probably repaint houses every now and then, but we had to have like a special crew who works specifically on log homes, and it's just expensive and hard to find crews to do that. Options are limited, I should say. Some of the other challenges are just that this house is much bigger than where I've lived ever before, especially in Seattle, where we were in very small apartments and a really small house, 800 square feet house. And it's very easy to heat and cool and clean smaller spaces like that. I find them very comfortable as well. So moving into a bigger house like this, with a lot of windows and stuff, heating and cooling and cleaning and maintaining it is just a lot more work than I'm used to, and it took me a little while to feel comfortable here just because it doesn't feel as small and cozy as what I was used to. Being in nature, you have less interaction with neighbors, which I miss from my time in Seattle because I like to be a little bit more engaged with the people that I live with or near. So that's been a big difference as well. It's hard to, you don't really ever just run into your neighbor when you're taking out the trash because next question is, what do you think your childhood self would be most proud of you for? I actually found a notebook from 7th or 8th grade, so I was, how old are you there? 14, 15, something like that, where I wrote in this notebook, my dream house is a cabin in the woods, and I had drawn a little cabin with mountains in the background and like a river, and we don't have the river or the mountains, but it's kind of crazy that that came true for me, because what are the freaking chances of that? What are the chances of that particular dream coming true? Very strange. So, my childhood self would be really proud of me, I think, for ending up in my dream house somehow. But I also think that my younger self was very passionate about art, and I never really knew how to exercise my creativity back in the day, and I think I've found outlets to do that now. I can't paint, I can't draw, but I find a lot of artistic freedom and experimentation in things like editing and YouTube. And I also think younger me would be proud of the ways that I have gained empathy as I've gotten older and wiser, understanding or realizing that you don't know anything. You think you know everything. You know hardly anything at all. And it's okay not to know. But learning and doing better when you learn is really important. And I think young me would think that's pretty cool. I also ended up doing a job that isn't exactly what I would have had in mind when I was younger. But now that I'm older, I see that this is even better than that for me and my personality, how I like to work. I ended up with a dream job, a dream house. Somebody asked also, what is your dream in life? And I feel like I've honestly achieved everything that I dreamed for myself. To be with a partner who loves me, and I love them. To have pets. To have a home where I feel safe and inspired. I wanted a tattoo. I got some tattoos. I have a job that makes me feel fulfilled and satisfied, and honestly, those were all the dreams that I had. Now my dream is just to be a helper when and where I can. I know a lot of people are just in survival mode, and I feel like it's on people who are out of survival mode to help others around them. So that's my dream in life now, is just to do what I can to be a helper. Someone asked, what is the story of how you met your partner and how you knew they were the one? I met my partner through his roommate. I was friends with his roommate. We would play music together sometimes. And his roommate had shared that my now husband had a crush on me. Knowing that he had a little bit of a crush made me more confident to put myself out there. I knew immediately that the way that I felt with him was different than anyone else that I had seen or dated. In meeting someone that I was very compatible with, it became very clear how different that feeling was to other people. The comparison for me is how I knew my partner was the one. I just felt safe and confident and comfortable and happy when I was around him. I hadn't experienced that same feeling of like, I want to be with this person all the time. And obviously that winds down a little bit over time. You're riding the high of falling in love, and then you settle into it. But yeah, it was a very different experience than anything that I'd experienced before that, and that's how I knew he was the one. I'll answer 2 more questions in this video. Here's one. What made you decide to become a vegetarian? I watched a documentary. I don't even remember what it was called. It was a twin study. They had identical twins. One go vegan and the other eat an omnivore diet. And then they compared a bunch of things. And that was interesting to me. But what really hit home for me was when the documentary shared the environmental impact of eating meat. And as someone who lives in an area where drinking water was contaminated by irresponsible chemical usage, that part of the documentary really hit home for me. There's a lot of environmental impact on the areas around those facilities, and a lot of times those facilities are in more rural areas because they're big and unsightly and smelly, and they pollute the area around them. And people in higher income areas or cities don't want to see that or deal with it, and so it gets put into rural communities where there's less people to complain about the impacts, and there's less resources. I do occasionally eat meat still, but it's only from farms that I know are taking care of the animals in a sustainable way for the environment, and also fair to the animals. To have meat come from places like that, it's more expensive and it takes longer, and there's less of it available. Like most things, doing them in the best way for the environment and people around them and animals, it's hard. It's harder to do that. I decided to opt out of participating in that process by becoming a vegetarian. That's what made me decide. Sorry if that was kind of heavy, but that's living in a rural area. I just want to really support the farms that I feel are doing things in a good way, and I would just like to not monetarily support practices that I'm uncomfortable with or that I find harmful. What is one piece of advice for someone who just graduated college? First, congratulations. Second, I would say don't be afraid to change your mind. Sometimes opportunities come up that don't necessarily align exactly with what you went to school for, but you might end up taking a path that leads you to somewhere really cool. And I would also say that it can be very overwhelming when you leave school because there's a lot of structure to being a student. You have classes at certain times, you have homework and activities maybe. There's a lot of structure and community, and I would say the sooner you can find that as a post-grad, the happier you will be, whether that's joining a club or a team or something like a rec league team for sports, or an organization in the field that you're interested in that hosts events. Go in person and meet some people. There's also volunteer opportunities or something. If you sign up for a volunteer opportunity in inspires you, you're going to start meeting people who have the same passions, and you can build some community that way outside of school. I was very slow to do that when I graduated because I felt like my world kind of tipped upside down a little bit, and I just kind of retreated into myself. I wish that I would have gone outside myself a bit right after I graduated, so maybe that's my piece of advice for you. Okay, let's end on a fun one. What 3 superpowers would you choose to have? I would definitely want to be able to heal, like vampire style, heal myself and heal others. I would want to be able to fly. That would be pretty sweet. And maybe the ability to like control other people's emotions. I feel like those 3 skills would be incredibly handy in a number of scenarios. I think I'll leave it here with this video, and I'll be back with a part 2 at some point, specifically answering your questions around music and movies and art.